You guys are definitely in for a treat with this one. Me and my brother had the opportunity to interview a world-renowned musician, a musical educator, and just a cool person. I have the opportunity and privilege to call him my brother, and I'm just gonna let him introduce himself.
My name is Antonio Hart. I'm a jazz saxophonist and composer. Also, I'm an educator. I'm the director of jazz studies at the Aaron Copeland of Music in New York City and Flushing, Queens. For the last 30 years, I've been performing around the world and educating around the world in this great idiom of jazz.
Can you go a little bit on your background of how you started and
Sure, sure. From Baltimore, Maryland, and I grew up in the inner city and went to some really bad schools that really didn't prepare you for anything. It was, for me, when looking back, it felt like daycare for grown people. But God took favor on me, and I got accepted into the Performing Arts High School, which was new at that time. And I wasn't prepared to be there, to be totally honest. Academically, I wasn't prepared to be there, even musically. But they saw something in me and they accepted me. I had a lot of challenges because, like I said, I wasn't prepared. But those 4 years were very, very important to my development in terms of like getting me on track academically, giving me exposure to dance, to visual arts, to theater, as well as um, music, especially at that particular time in our school. It was primarily European classical tradition that they were dealing with. So my teacher studied in Europe, and so I was trained as a classical saxophonist. So I did that for 4 years. It was the most amazing experience, something I'll never forget. But I realized that I didn't want to play classical music. I wanted to play saxophone, but not classical music. So, and when I went to see symphony orchestras, I didn't see any black people, you know. So I didn't see anybody that looked like me. So I started listening to the radio station, and there was this music called jazz. Of course, I was listening to the pop stations, and at that time, Grover Washington was the man. He is the man. It was like George Howard, a few other guys, but really for that, after Hank Crawford, it was Grover Washington, and I was listening to that. But then I listened to the jazz station, and I discovered people like Sonny Stitt, Gene Ammons, and Charlie Parker. And this whole idea of improvisation really intrigued me because I was like, wow, they're doing whatever they want. I don't know what they're doing, but it's supposed to be something that they're making up. So I said I want to go to school and study that style of music, especially because I saw people that looked like me doing it, and then I was intrigued with the process of improvisation. So I applied to several schools, and the one school that accepted me was Berklee College of Music in Boston. So I attended Berklee, and I started out at the bottom of the totem pole. I mean, literally, because I was a classical musician coming to like a jazz institution, and I didn't know anything in terms of jazz. I just had a passion for it, and I listened to a lot of music. So when I got there, knowing that I was on the lowest totem pole, I wanted to find out who the best were there. I didn't care who came in with me. I wanted to know who were the very best students there. And those are the people I kind of shadowed. They looked at me like a kid, but I would just follow them, or if they were playing somewhere, I was watching them. And I would practice, man. I had to get a job. My mom, single parent situation. So I was working, but I was practicing 12 hours a day, literally 12 hours a day, go to work, go to class, practice, wake up 2 o'clock in the morning, sweat, and go in the practice room and practice till it's time to go to class, eat breakfast and go to class. And I did that for a number of years. And what happened was I just got better, not thinking about anything else, not thinking about music as a career or anything like that. I just wanted to play the saxophone. And as a matter of fact, I was a dual major. I was performance and music ed. And halfway through it, I said, well, if I get good enough, nobody's going to ask me for a degree. They're going to say, can you
Yeah,
play or
yeah.
can't you play? So I quit the performance degree and I went straight music ed. And because I did that, I had to stay like one more year to doing student teaching. But in that process, like I said, I rose in the ranks at the college. I started making a name for myself around Boston as an up and coming musician. And there was a young man named Roy Hargrove who was at school with me too. He just passed away 2 years ago. He became very, very, very famous, like one of the icons in jazz. We started our career together. He got signed to RCA, and I did his first record And then I got signed to RCA. He did my first record, but we recorded maybe like 5 recordings together. We traveled the world together for like 3.5 years before I broke off to do my own thing. And after I graduated from Berkeley, I had a record contract. I was signed to RCA, but I still wanted to continue my education because, like I said, I didn't have that dream to be like this musician out there on the road. I didn't think I was going to do it because I started out so late compared to everybody else. So I came to New York to get my master's at Aaron Copland School of Music, Queens, and I studied with the great Jimmy Heath, who just passed this year, 93 years old, who became my mentor. And I mean, his history goes all the way back to Charlie Parker, Clifford Brown. If you don't know these names, these are like the icons of African American music, of this American music. And he was my mentor for almost 30 years, and I miss him every day. So yeah, I got my master's degree. Then I went on the road full time, and I played with a lot of people. I've recorded, I don't even know how many CDs I've recorded now. It's over 100, but I don't know the exact number. And been touring around the world. And my teacher at some point said, "Would you think about teaching?" I was like, I don't know. But I really was getting tired of the road because the road life is really hard. So I came into Queens College because he retired. I came in as a visiting artist professor, and it ended up being from visiting artist professor to assistant associate to full to tenure to now I'm the director. So that's a 20-year span. But within that 20-year span, I was still traveling. And I think in 2000, I went to China the first time in 1998 with a great bass player named Dave Holland. Dave Holland's from New York, from England. And he got famous because he played with Miles Davis in a very important period of that period, Bitches Brew and all that kind of stuff. So I went to China with him in 98, but then in 2011, I played at the White House for President Obama. It was for a state dinner for the Chinese president. So I played at the White House with Herbie Hancock and some people. And after that, I went back to China to do like master classes and things like that. But I said, I'm gonna use that as a chance to get some martial arts in. So that's when I started going to Fushan, and I went to the Yip Man Museum. I went to Shaolin Temple. I actually trained with a Shaolin monk. I ate in the dining hall with the Shaolin monks, and I'm the first person in the 1,500 years of Shaolin to play jazz. I'm the only person that did that on top of the mountain where the big statue of Damu is. I actually played there. I'm the only person that's ever done that. And then I also went to Wudang Mountain, which is, oh man, unbelievable. That's supposed to be the home of Tai Chi, and it's like the most incredible experience I've had. So I've been, and then I went to Hong Kong with Sifu Alex. Actually, we went to Hong Kong, and I went to a convention with him and met like so many of the I don't know what's going on. Somebody's banging, brother. That's in my building. I guess they don't work. And I met so many.
They think they're doing work.
Yeah, I hope that's what they're doing. Or I feel sorry. Somebody. Yeah. So yeah, man. So like the martial arts and the music have been a very integral part of my life. And I've been doing music for so long that some things I take for granted now because they're kind of innate, and because I just do it. I've been doing it for so many years, and it's taken me studying the martial arts, and I've been to several schools before I came to City Wing Chun, and that's why I think I appreciate it so much more. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing like that. But
well, if you look back, are there like miles, like when you were in Baltimore at the Performing Arts School, and when you went up to Boston, are there like, so you said you would follow people, some of the elder students over. Are there like specific people or different points in your education where you're like, all right, this is like a different little milestones where you're like either people or just situations that brought you to that next level?
Well, I have to thank all my teachers. I had some really amazing teachers. My high school teacher, Chris Ford, who took me from ground zero to being pretty competent. And then I had teachers at Berkeley, Bill Pierce, Andy McGee and Joe Viola. Those were my primary music saxophone teachers that took me to the level to be able to be on the road. I have to thank Roy Hargrove because, he was a star. When he came to school, he was already famous at 17 years old. And he asked me to join his band. And, from that, man, it was just like, literally, we went into RCA Studios. Now it's the IRS, but it's on the avenues of the Americas, 44th or 46th Avenue in America. It used to be a very famous recording studio. Duke Ellington, everybody recorded there. And back then, we're talking about 1990, doing a recording was still a big deal. And not that it's not a big deal now, but people have home studios. They can do everything at home. But then it was like you're going to a recording studio to record. And then you had a big machine. We had BMG, RCA behind us, where, so it was an exciting time, man. It was like you had Wynton Marsalis and Branford. Those were the two, right? When I was in college, it was Wynton Marsalis and Branford. Then the next generation was Terrence Blanchard and Donald Harrison. You might not know these names, but the next generation after that was me and Roy. So we were like part of this lineage of frontline people. And man, so I have to thank Roy. I have to thank all my teachers, Mr. Heath. Because of Mr. Heath, I met all the masters, the Milt Jacksons, the Barry Harris, Sonny Rollins. All these people, because those are his peers. And because he took me under his wing, all of those guys accepted me into this fraternity of musicians, and, getting the chance to play with Dizzy Gillespie. I recorded with Dizzy Gillespie before he died, and Max Roach, who played with Charlie Parker, McCoy Tyner, who played with John Coltrane, playing with Art Blakey and Elvin Jones and all these people. Like icons. I was supposed to be with Miles Davis, but he passed away before I could be in the band. Man, and it's my teacher wrote a book said I stand on the shoulders of the giants, and that's how I feel. These guys I'm standing on their shoulders. Yeah.
How often do you just get caught in the whirlwind and not realize what's actually happening, or are you always just like, man, I'm in this lucky place, or not lucky per se, but just like you're in this around greatness, or do you sometimes get caught in it and be like, yeah, this is just what it is?
Nah, man, I'm always in awe. I'm always in awe that, like I told you, if you look at my situation, where I came from, this story wasn't supposed to happen. It could only happen from a higher being, because, all my boys in Baltimore, for the most part, if they still alive, they went through the system. They got a bunch of kids and, the whole inner city story, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, I was hanging around those cats. The cats was selling drugs and doing all that stuff. But they wouldn't let me be involved in it. Like, no, you the college boy. You go to school and do your thing. And I thank those guys for that, man. But for years, could you get caught at it does become commonplace sometimes because it's your work. I remember this is a long time ago, but I was walking down the street and my friend said, "What's going on?" I said, "Man, I gotta go to Paris tomorrow." And she looked at me. She looked at me like, "You got to go to Paris tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah," because for me, and it wasn't tripping or anything. It was like, it was work.
Right.
I'm going to Paris. So man, true story. I'm in Paris and I'm walking close to the Champs-Élysées. I'm walking. I forgot what that avenue is called, but I'm walking, and man, and something just stops me in my tracks. Literally, like I felt like I had lead in my legs, and it said, "Look around." It said, "Look where you're at. You're in Europe." Yeah. And some people spend their whole lives just to come here once. You've been here many times. And not only do you come here to perform, and you get paid to come here. You need to be more appreciative. And from that moment, I never took anything for granted ever again. So every time I get a chance to play, every time I get a chance to give and share, it's special. It's a special moment. But I've over the years, like I said, because I never want to come across arrogant or egotistic or like, look what I've done. I kind of downplayed a lot of stuff, and I forgot a lot of stuff that I did, And then, one day I just started going through the records, and I was like, wow, man, in these 28, 29 years, bro, you've had an amazing, amazing career, and hopefully it's not over yet. But, man, like I said, everything for me now, man, is like that icing on top of the cake, right? Because I never I never dreamt any of this. I didn't think I was going to live in New York. My grades were so bad in school. My SAT scores were so bad. It was no way in the world. How can I be somebody's college professor and the director of a department? That still trips me out to this day. But like I said, the God for me is God had a divine plan for me, man, and I'm trying to get my head together so I can continue with that plan because it's a little rough right now.
When you were growing up, you said you practice a lot, sometimes 12 hours a day. Can you look back and kind of talk about what drove that practice to you? Like, why were you so dedicated to the craft? What was that in you?
Well, that was in college. When I was like in high school and things like that, I did maintenance. I did what I was supposed to do. I probably wasn't the best student, but in college, like I said, man, because when I got there, I was the lowest guy on the totem pole,
right?
And I was kind of like the joke. When I went to play, cats would play little musical tricks on you, and I was like, okay, you want to do that? You won't be doing that later. So when guys were like, chasing, just chilling out in the lobby, I had headphones on. I was listening to music. I was going to practice. And plus, man, I had a hard time through school, because my mom couldn't afford to send me to school. So I had to take out loans. I had scholarships and loans. And every year, I had to fight to go to school. Like I would need $1,000, $1,500, and I had to beg the school to give me this money so I could finish my education, man, up until my last year. Even after I got signed for a record deal, a major record deal, I still had to fight for money for school. So, I earned my degree. So, and they told you get more money based on your activities, the more active you are. So, man, I was active. Whenever they had a guest come to the school, Jack DeJohnette or Dizzy Gillespie or whoever, I was in the band.
Yeah.
And that was one thing I remember. Like one of the first concerts we saw when we were freshmen, they had all the students up on the stage playing. And I said, one day that's going to be me. And probably by the second year, second or third year, I was on everything that ever came. Anybody that came a guest, I was in that situation. Representing the college, I was in that situation. The drive was just, I just loved it so much, man. You didn't have to tell me to practice. Yeah, there was some catalyst for doing it because I wanted to stay in school and I wanted to get this piece of paper. But I just wanted to be so much a part of this legacy, man. It felt like I was supposed to be doing this, and it was natural to do it. It was hard, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Even today, it's hard, but I love it, man, with all my being. And that piece of metal that's in my bedroom has taken me all over the world. Not just once, but many times.
Yeah. It's a loaded question, but really briefly, can you describe kind of the basic difference between jazz and classical and maybe how your classical background kind of helped you in the jazz realm?
Well, I mean, it's two totally different cultures, two different traditions. The European style of music comes from Europe, obviously. It depends on what period you're talking about, Baroque, classical, romantic, and up to contemporary music. So it has a certain kind of tradition. What we call jazz or American music, which I rather prefer calling it, it has a blending of that European thing. So the technique, the harmony, versus like the pentatonic kind of harmony that came out of Africa at that time. There's a blending of that, but then what jazz gave to the European music was the rhythm, the syncopation, the different kinds of emotions. Not that classical music is not emotional, because it is, but the African thing had another spin to it. And so, that's why like you hear gospel, you hear the blues and all the stuff. That's all jazz. For me, it's not separate. The difference is secular text versus, spiritual text. But it's coming from the same source. It's coming from the continent of Africa through Middle Passage with a blending of the European culture with the African culture, the rhythms, the different timbres of voice, the inflections, the feel, the groove, So that's, for me, that's the difference. And, back in the day, classical musicians actually did improvise. When you go back to Haydn and Liszt and Mozart, they had this thing called a figure bass. There were numbers at the bottom, and they would use that to kind of vary the music. So they did improvise, but somewhere along history, it disappeared, and it's coming back now. But the jazz musicians were pretty ingenious, man, because they took these structures, primarily like a lot of show tunes, Rodgers and Hart's Cole Porter, and all these people, and they took these songs that were popular songs in the day, like something like Beyonce or, you know, something that's really popular, and they took these songs and they would like play them, but they would play it in their idiom, or they would like take the structure of the song, like the form of the song, and put a new melody over top of it. But these are familiar songs, you know, and that was a practice for a long time. We call them jazz standards now because that's something that they did. But the musicians, the improvising musicians are pretty incredible because you're doing everything in real time. Now, you know, that word improvisation is supposed to mean spontaneous creation in a moment. There's very few people that are real improvisers. We play things that we practice and we put them together, you know, but that's probably, for me, that's the difference. But I love listening to European classical music. I'll put on some Bartok, I'll put on some Beethoven, I'll put on some Shostakovich or some Stravinsky. But, you know, of course, I'm putting on Duke Ellington, I'm putting on Art Blakey, I'm putting on Thelonious Monk, I'm putting on Charlie Parker. You know, I think that's important that especially Americans, not just young people of color, but all Americans should know these people. You should know who Charles Mingus is. You should know who Count Basie is. You should know all these names because I remember the first time I went to Europe, I was 18. I went with these guys from college, from Berkeley. They said, "You want to go to Europe?" I was like, "That's a real place." You know, like, you know what I mean? It was like books, bro. And I was in France. We were in Paris, bro. I saw the Eiffel Tower. I was like, "This is real," you know. You know, my first time drinking red Bordeaux wine and, you know, going to the beach and the girls are naked. I'm like, what is this? Right?
Oh man, no, it's true. I met this kid from Marcy Projects and didn't believe that Africa was a real. He thought it was just like History Channel and Discovery. He didn't think it was a real place. But yeah,
the greatest thing we could do for our kids, man, in the future. I mean, hopefully, I'll get a chance to be a father like you. Is show them the world. You know, that's the greatest gift that you can give them. Like, America is a melting pot. But man, there's so much more to see. And you see that people really want the same things. They want to love, they want shelter, they want food, they want to be happy. That goes across the board for everybody. Everywhere I've ever been, those same things are the same for everybody. Now, the language is different. The food is different. The air might be different. The way they walk, the way they talk, that might be different. Ceremony is different. But the basic human things are all the same.
right on. So you said, how much composing do you do in these days?
Man, to be totally honest with you, it's been very light. I'm actually working on a suite. I'm working on a suite that deals with the Wing Chun system, actually. Okay. So I'm writing music to each form. So all right. I've already done Silam Tao. And I wrote music to Silam Tao, and I want to do one for each form, and then create a suite, and hopefully one day I'll record it.
That's cool.
So, but right now I'm finishing up with the semester. We have this week. This is the last week of school, and it's been quite turbulent because we're teaching from home, and we don't know what's going to happen in September. So, honestly, man. Besides like just being here alone, sometimes getting in my depression, it's hard. You know, I got a stack of books. I got all the Sifu's books that I want to sit down and read and study and come to class and you know, take notes. And sometimes, man, I'm just mentally and spiritually and physically just tired. And I just flip the TV on, put on YouTube or something just to vegetate, you know?
Yeah.
You would think we have all this time, we could be productive, man, but this is, you know, emotionally and psychologically, man, this is something, you know, we're not prepared for. At least I'm not prepared for it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's unprecedented, and it's like not especially in the way we've been living in this culture in the last, I guess, at least 100 years, we're not designed to be living like this at all.
Man, it's deep, man. Like I said, I'm here alone, and you know, I talk to people, do this platform and stuff like that. I've been going to the park. a couple times a week. I just find a little spot by myself where nobody's there. I'll do all my forms and, you know, just kind of sit there and people watch from afar, you know, something like
Yeah.
that. And then walk home, man. You know, it's just just try to get a rhythm. So hopefully when school's over, man, I'm gonna take like 2 weeks where I just gotta shut down everything, and then hopefully I can get into my groove with my composing, with like I said, the reading and really practicing my horn the way I should, and working out. You know,
Yeah.
really working out.
So is it difficult for you to touch your horn in these times, or like not even necessarily this time, but like times? Is there times where you just want to not touch it, look at your horn at all?
I'm embarrassed to say, yes, yeah, man. This is like, you know, I had the desire to pick up the flute or the saxophone, man, and I'm not inspired, you know. And I'm like, this is not. Now I know something's up because that's not
Uh,
normal. And you know, I have some playing projects with students where we're recording some stuff and putting the tracks together. So I've been doing that. I have to do some of that probably tomorrow for class. But you know, man, I'm just trying to be in this moment and
no, yeah,
just, you know, if I can like get up every day and just try to be a little bit positive and, you know, sometimes get out of the house and I'm cooking more. I'm not, you know, eating out,
yeah.
you know. So, you know, there's some good things. I think, honestly, I feel like this is like a reset. I think God has us resetting. We've gotten so far away
Oh
from
man,
humanity,
Yeah.
you know. It's like we've gotten so far away from, you know, the cell phones, the computers, even the stuff. This is what we're using to communicate with. But you see, it's kind of like still hampering, you know, human communication. Nothing. I mean, I haven't hugged a woman in 2 months, man. You know, or smelt one. You know what I mean?
no, yeah,
You know, and I only
It's,
talk about looking at stuff on a
yeah.
computer, but you know, it's like you want that human connection, man.
Yeah.
It's just like it's in like
it's
for
like the
you, man.
Matrix.
Yeah, you're fortunate, man, because you have your family, you have your kids and stuff like that. But for somebody that's home by themselves, man, that's even a bigger whammy.
For sure. Humans are
You know,
isolated.
yeah.
Can you kind of go in and talk about your creative process, like when you're about to sit?
Let me take it back real quick. Let me actually rewind real quick. So, and though outside of this time right now, because this is obviously a different time, but when you find yourself in those slumps, is there something that you use to pull yourself out of the slump, or is it uh like how do you find yourself getting out, or is it just like you just ride it out outside of this time, because this is obviously a
Yeah,
different
man.
time that we're in?
Sometimes you just have to be in that moment, or you just do something different, man. And that was the beauty of having having WT, because there have been times where I might not be that inspired musically, and I'll go to class, and then I'm like, wow, I want to go home and practice. I want to go home and sit behind a computer, or vice versa, because you know, that many times in WT, I'm just like burnt out, man. You know, some basic thing that Seafood's like, I told you this already, and you get down on yourself, and you be like, instead of like practicing it, it's like you get down on yourself, and then you know, sometimes for me anyway, I revert to that kid kind of thing, and then I just don't want to do it. But Seafood suggested this great book to me called Mindset, and I read most of it, but the basic concept of the book was like there's like two kinds of mindsets. There's the fixed mindset and there's the growth mindset. The fixed mindset is like that person I was just talking about. You mess up and you're like, man, I can't do it. I'll never be able to do it, so I won't do it, and I'm just stuck. The growth mindset is like, you know what, I can't do this today, but I'll be able to do it tomorrow or next week or the week after that. But it's you make it like fun for yourself, like it's a challenge. It's not you're not defeated.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to put that into my life now, man. Like even in this situation, I'm not defeated. I'm you know, whatever, writing music or studying, whatever that's been giving me a hard time. It's like it's not about the defeat. It's just like I can't do it right now.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I won't be able to do it if I don't continue, like what Seafood was talking about the other day, being disciplined and just doing a little bit.
Oh shoot.
Oh, we lost him. We lost him.
You guys still there?
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
No, you still there?
Yeah, we get.
Somebody called me. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like yeah, man. So just yeah, I think we all go through it, man. As artists, you know, you're very sensitive to what's going on, and sometimes you're inspired, and sometimes you're not inspired, man.
What
And
what
just
things what things inspire you, like in your past? What's like something that like, really inspires you?
man, it could be. I mean, it could be something as trivial or as small as like going to the park and looking at. I remember like I was sitting in the park one day, and it was like a breeze, and I was looking at the leaves on the tree blow, and one side of the leaves were like matted, so they, you know, it was just like kind of plain, but the other side of the leaves were very shiny, like waxy looking.
Yeah.
And I was looking at that, and I was like, that's pretty amazing that you know the tree grows like that, the branches and the leaves, or looking at the ground and looking at an ant pull like something, right? Like something huge, but this ant is like pulling this thing like that. That inspires me. Anything to do with kids, man.
Yeah.
I love, you know, I love to see kids happy, and I love to see how kids respond to things, because I think that's really how we should continue to be. As we get older, we get kind of jaded in our ways, but kids, they bounce back, man. They cry, they hurt themselves, and then 5 minutes later, they're doing the same thing they did before. They're not even thinking about it, you
They're in the
know.
moment.
You know, in us, you know, say a kid falls and scuffs their knee, mom, or you guys pick them up, like kiss them on the knee, put a Band-Aid on it, and next thing you know, they're like doing the same thing. We fall and hit our knee, be like,
Over.
yo,
I'm done.
I ain't doing
I'm
that no
done.
more. Nah, it's done. I'm done. Right? You know, like, so it's like you know, keeping that childlike nature, man. Like trying to look at everything like it's new. Like I said, like Jose, seeing like, you know, like something might in class, man, I might have been doing for the last year and a half, and I still don't have it. Like changing the mindset, saying no, okay, you don't have it, but look at it differently. Try to find a way to make it exciting for you. Make Chisal exciting for you. Make doing Silam Tao exciting for you. You know, like what is that you can do to do that? The inspiration comes from like the possibility of doing it good one day.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's a quotable right there. That's
Quotable.
Yeah.
Ability.
That's the inspiration, man. Just, you know, not giving up, man. My dream, whether I teach like you, Sihang, you know, I want to be certified like you, but my goal is to complete the Wing Chun system. That's my goal. And if I complete that goal, I'm cool, whether I teach or not teach. That's just something that I want to do. So I got to be diligent. I got to persevere through the hard times. I got to come to class. You know, my goal is to do, like I said, that suite for the Wing Chun. I have some musical goals, some things that I want to do in terms of writing a book that I've been working on. I haven't been working on about music. I have a lot of things. I want to have a family, man. I want to do like you. I look at your beautiful family. I'm like, wow,
Thank you.
man, that must be amazing. You know?
Yeah, sometimes it's also rough with a family in quarantine, but
Yeah, I've been hearing about people hating their kids these days. Hey, man.
yeah, I mean, same thing. It is what it is, you know.
Real quick,
Yeah, man.
With your creative process, do you have a certain like step-by-step system, or kind of describe, like, if you have like something to create, or you feel inspired, like what does that look like, or is it all different each time?
It can be different each time. For me, man, like usually it starts off visually. I'll see the image in my head, and then I have to translate that visual into audible, like a sound, right? So when I see something, it kind of transforms into a sound or a tone or a certain kind of tone. Like if I'm talking music, it could be a major sound or a minor sound. It could be something that's dissonant or something that's very pleasant. You know, it really depends. Like I said, I could look at this fine chick walk down the street, and then I sit at the piano. I'm like, wow, this is her walking down the street, or this is her hair, or this is what she was wearing, or
the feel.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It comes there. It could be like a food that I ate. You know, in one of my classes, I do an improvisation class, 2 semesters, and I try to get the students to think that way. You know, there's a technical way of learning music where you learn everything, But then there's the other aspects of it where you become an artist, because the artist tells you about what they believe, what they've experienced. That's what comes through in that music. Being a good musician is already expected. But now, like, how do you play? I ask my students, how do you play? It's a sunny day outside. How do you play? It's snowing outside. How do you play? It's 4:30 p.m. and you really don't feel like being here right now. How do you play? You're in love. How do you play? You just broke up with your girlfriend or your boyfriend. How do you play that slice of pizza that you ate? You know what I mean? It's not just, so it's like, those are the inspirations, because that's some of the greatest songs that Smokey Robinson wrote. What love songs? What were they talking about? Women. Yeah. The girl from Ipanema, one of the most famous songs from Brazil. It was about a chick that was walking down the beach.
Yeah.
That was the inspiration. And Naima, John Coltrane wrote Naima, and so many other people that write about women and cars and everything else. So like I said, mine comes from, like, first is usually a visual thing, or when I'm very lucky, when I'm in tune and I'm not blocking it, it comes through right away as music. It comes to me right away. And all I have to do is write it down. That's when I'm not getting in God's way.
Wow.
Right on. Well, we're about to run out of time. It was a pleasure to have you with us. Is there anything that you want to plug?
My webpage is AntonioHartMusic.com.
All right.
That's the best way to find me, man. And bruh, a pleasure to meet you, brother. And
likewise.
Thanks for inviting me here, man. I was
for
very
joining us.
shocked and honored, man. I got
We're
mad
honored.
We're honored. Honored. That was a pleasure.
Honors all over here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, man, hopefully I'll see you in class later on tonight.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Or sometime this week. And give my regards to the family, brother.
Will do.
All right, man.
Appreciate you, man. Peace.
All right. Peace.
Hey, I hope you guys appreciated that as much as we did. It was a great opportunity and a privilege to speak with Antonio Hart. Awesome dude. Check him out at AntonioHart.com. So if you have not checked out our previous episodes, go check them out. Also, stay tuned for our next episode coming up. We'll have God Forbid of That Handsome Devil. Stay tuned.